Things I did this time to help the scale go down for real. Like, how many of us tried to lose weight before and it just never happened? Yeah. And I ain't the skinniest right now, but I lost over like 100 pounds. Well, I lost right at 100 pounds. And so I'm gonna tell y'all 5 things I did this time for real that was really mental and not physical that helped me actually get the weight off this time. So the first thing I did was consult with my doctor. Like, this was the first time that I included my doctor in on my weight loss process, because I don't know, for some reason in my head I thought I could do it by myself. Yeah, and that really wasn't a good idea. Like, that really wasn't a good idea. Like, I could do it by myself sometimes, but this time it was just a little bit harder when I had got to my highest weight to do it alone. So I really consulted with my doctor. Like, I needed to get labs to see where I was. I needed to see like the alternatives that was out there, and baby, that's when I got on my GLP-1. Yeah. And then in addition to like eating right, working out, monitoring my labs with my doctor. So that was the first time like I included my doctor in on my process. The second thing I did really was talk to my mama, y'all. Like, I really had to have a conversation with my mama about like my weight. And hear me out when I say this. Like, the conversation I had with my mom was like, Mom, when is the first time like that you seen like my weight just start to increase when I was a kid, right? Like, I kind of knew, but like you really don't know like how it was for you growing up. Like, when it comes to like your weight, like when did it start creeping up? When did it stop? All of those things. And I can remember myself always just being a very, very active big girl. Like, I've never been like a big girl who didn't work out, who didn't like go outside and play. Like, my favorite thing to do is like go outside and play with my friends, like every day. So I was always outside. I was like always active, but I didn't know like when the weight loss like started to creep up on me. And so like having a conversation with my mama, she was like, oh, the weight loss, the weight gain started to creep up on me maybe when I was like around 6 or something like that. Not 6. I've always kind of been a bigger girl, but basically she was describing the time frames when the weight started to increase. And I had like put 2 and 2 together, and the weight started to increase for me when I was like going through like something traumatic. So like my mama moved away at one of these time periods, and she moved away so like she could get a better job, and I like stayed with my grandparents. And while I loved my grandparents, I think the fact that my mom had kind of moved somewhere else was like a catalyst for me to start eating. It was like a response to like trauma, a response to me just grieving my mom being away for work. So that was one of the first times that like she saw my weight to start to increase. And then I just went back and thought about the times that I could remember as a kid or a teenager or a preteen when my weight like jumped up. And it was really when we did like big moves, I started a new school, or something changed in my life that was not the new. Yeah, so big changes in my life at a very young age was like one of the things that I can count on to make my weight go up. So that was really imperative for me to talk to my mom about like just the history of my weight gain, because it just put things in a new perspective for me that I can compare to me being an adult. So I realized that it was still the same. Like, my weight would increase when I got stressed. My weight would increase when my routine changed. If I got a new job, even if it was a good job, my weight would increase because now I'm learning something new. I'm off my routine. And so I learned whenever I was like off my routine or I was doing something new, like the weight gain would jump up like crazy. So that was like the second thing I did. The third thing that I did that was really, really big, I really thought about the messages that I was telling myself about my weight. Like, what are the things that I was saying to myself about my weight? Like, whether it was negative things, whether it was positive things, whether I was in denial, honey, because sometimes as big girls, we be in denials, especially if you like a pretty big girl. And that's no shade to anybody, but like, if you like got a really pretty face, sometimes you won't realize how big you're getting because you're still getting attention. Like, people are still telling you you're beautiful, you're smart, and over here growing like a house. That was me. So like, I continued to like gain weight, and I was still getting applauses for other things. Like, I was doing well in my career, I was doing things like that, and so I was still getting like praise from other places, and not really just realizing that like this this body was just like out of control. So like really thinking about the messages I was telling myself, really thinking about the times that I was in Delulu land, like all of those things, and just accepting the messages I was telling myself and the thoughts that I was feeling frequently, or the thoughts that was going through my head frequently about my body. And some of them were good and some of them were bad, but like really, really investigating the thoughts. The third thing I did though was also like investigate the thoughts that I had about my body that came from childhood. Because I realized after I investigated the thoughts that I was having as an adult, and then I thought about the thoughts that I was having as a child, or the thoughts that I was getting from family members as a child, were similar to each other. So for example, my like family, I was always a very smart girl, would praise me for being the smart one. And so like I realized that all of the thoughts that I had as an adult was like because I was very, very, very like serious about work and stuff like that. It was because that was what I got praised for. I was good at work, but like nobody was saying anything about my body. And when they was saying something about my body, it was just like negative. So my granddaddy, love him to death, would say things like, if you push the plate away one more time, then you will be where you need to be. Or say something like, oh, you just big as a house, or something like that. And so like it was always these messages, or you just a big girl. You know what I'm saying? So like it was always these, it was just always these like negative messages about my body that I didn't realize like how much of them I internalized for myself. I didn't realize like how when you hear over and over and over, how that can really affect you, and you can really take those things and start to believe it as an adult. And I really want to generally say I live in the South, grew up in the South, grew up in Mississippi. That's where I was like born and raised. I don't stay there now, but grew up in the South and still live in the South. And in the South, like I feel like, and this could be everywhere else, I feel like women, they worry about their weight all the time. Like if you lose weight or you skinny, it's just like chef kiss, you're golden. Like weight is what they talk about all the time. And I feel like growing up in there, it was always this thing of like trying to lose weight or not trying to lose weight and just accept where I was. And so like really realizing how just Southern culture affected me, but also how like my family culture around weight also affected me. So yeah, that was really big. And so pairing the two together, like how did they relate to each other? How what I heard when I was a kid related to how I thought as an adult. So that was really big too. The last thing I did, which was the most important thing out of all of this, was really challenging those thoughts and creating new thoughts for myself. And this was really big, right? It was like thoughts of where I wasn't trying to like be in denial about my weight, but thoughts about like just my body in general. And those thoughts included like whether I was big, small, in the middle, indifferent, trying to lose weight or not trying to lose weight, I started to be appreciative of my body. Meaning that my body has taken me through, I ain't gonna tell you how old I am, but 36 years of life. So my body has taken me through some of the toughest moments of my life. It has taken me through some of the beautiful moments of my life, and while it aesthetically or just physically didn't quote unquote look like I wanted it to look, it still functioned. And it functioned and it showed up for me even in times that I didn't necessarily show up for it. It took care of me when I didn't necessarily take care of it the right way. And so when I changed all of these messages about my body and I started appreciating my body, appreciating that my limbs work, appreciate that I could walk, appreciate that I could like even try to start going to the gym, that my body could move. It may not look like everybody else's body in the gym, but it was still in the gym. It was still moving. So when I started to appreciate my body and love my body, then I could like make those changes, right? Like I could make those changes. And I made a decision to love my body at its biggest, and I was going to love my body through the whole process because it was mine and my body is all I have. And so when I started thinking about it like that, and when I started thinking about it like that, I really started like respecting my temple. I really started like being more serious about it and just taking care of me in general, taking care of my mental health around my weight, and also taking care around like my physical things that I could change the way I was eating, working out. So yeah, those are the things that I did different this time. And I really can say doing those things different has really changed the way I approach weight loss. It has changed the way that I think about myself, my body, and it's just been such a healthier approach. It's not always about being positive about your body, but it's always about being healthy about your body. And healthy doesn't necessarily mean positive, because healthy can mean just confronting the truth, right? It can mean stepping on that scale and seeing a number that I don't want to see. It being real with myself of like, I don't like this. But healthy can also mean that like I appreciate my body and I don't like it where it's at right now, and I'm going to give myself the grace, the time, and the wisdom, and the understanding, and the patience to go through the process as it evolves into it where it's supposed to be, or where I want it to be. So right now, am I in my goal way? No, not at all. But am I the healthy way for me? Yes. Am I healthy? Am my labs good? Yeah. Right? But it's still a journey, and every day I'm appreciative of the body that I exist in. And I hope you guys start to appreciate your body and love your body a little bit more too. So if you want some more tips on how to like literally change your mental around weight loss, hit me up, drop it in the comments below, and I'll make a response. Make sure you hit subscribe, like press the button. We want to see you here again. But anyway, have a good day. As always, thank you for tuning in.